What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. I hope you're all doing so well. Merry Christmas Eve to all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. I hope you've got some awesome presents. I got some really cool stuff. Whoa, it's all falling over. I got some new gifts here on the ledge from Zoe. Really excited about all those. But I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday season. Guys, if you want to come celebrate Christmas Eve with us on stream, twitch.tv/ZukoVibes, we are going to be trying to kill Razageth again tonight. I was streaming last night and we almost kind of got the kill, but we're going to try and kill her again tonight. So come hang out on the stream. If you want to come just hang out on Christmas Eve with us, I would be more than happy to have you there. Come watch us kill Razageth and we'll have a blast together. Speaking of the raid, though, let's get right into the Shadow Priest stuff. All right, so the Shadow Priest builds, guys, there's a couple of like single target raid builds that I have explored. I've spent a lot of time sitting on the dummy here, trying to figure out exactly what talent combination made sense the most, and there's a couple different ideas that you can go with, okay? Two that I found that actually performed fairly similarly in terms of their damage numbers. So I had one here. On both of them, I'm doing about 30k DPS. So I haven't been able to get too much higher than that. Now, keep in mind, my item level's 385, it should be. I don't know where my piece. Okay, so there, I fixed it. I'm about 384 item level. Now, I don't have any tier set bonuses either. So just kind of keep that in mind in terms of when we're evaluating how much damage we can do. Now, here's a couple of the builds that I've been looking at. So, number one, there's a build that basically focuses on Mind Spike, and I went all the way down into Mind Melt, actually, and I basically am not channeling Mind Flay Insanity. I'm not channeling Mind Flay ever. I'm not taking Idol of Cthulhu. Actually took Deathspeaker in the fight, into the raid fight itself. Now, I heard some of you guys in the comments down below in my last video where I talked about the no idol build that I was running. Talked about like how Deathspeaker like never ever procs for you, and you're kind of confused as to why I would want to take it. And I just want to make sure that you can see here that I got 6 procs on this thing in a 2-minute and 40-second fight. So this is on single target. I just hit this training dummy for 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and I got 6 procs on Deathspeaker. So one thing I just want to make sure that you guys remember is that you might not be noticing that you're getting the proc. It will light up and glow for you as if your enemy was in execute, just the exact same way that it does when your enemy's in execute and Shadow Word Death glows. So just make sure that you understand that it's going to glow for you, it's going to light up, and you're going to have to notice that. So maybe get a weak aura to help you detect whether or not Deathspeaker has gone off, whether or not it's actually procced for you, because sometimes that can be easy to miss. And I'm just letting you know that I'm getting procs on it all the time. And so this is only on a single target. On AoE, the proc rate goes way up because you have multiple Shadow Word Pains on multiple enemies that have a chance to proc it. But it procs 6 times for me on a 2-minute and 40-second fight. So this does work. Here's build number 1. It is looking at Mind Spike plus Surge of Darkness plus Mind Melt. And I took that into the Dathia fight. I'll show you that in a second. The other build, which is the more standard build, would be to say, let's get rid of the Mind Spike stuff. That's what people are going to... Actually, no, you're going to take Surge of Darkness still. You're going to make sure that you take Mind Flay Insanity. You're going to take Screams of the Void. And then you're going to go down and get Yogg-Saron. This is the basic chunk of the build. You want to get Mindbender. And then you can choose what you want to do with your last point. You can also just go Dark Ascension or Void Eruption. A lot of people are still going Dark Ascension, even though they're doing this build here where you're channeling more so. The last point you could just put into Inescapable Torment if you want to. You could run a build that's something like this. There's a very weird build on Subcreation I was looking at, which is, I guess, the most common build that's been for a lot of the Shadow Priests here, which is basically an Idol of Cthulhu, Idol of Yogg-Saron, and they only take 1 point, I think. No, they don't take 1 point here. I forget where else they were going, but there's maybe the calculator is just wrong on... Yeah, this definitely seems to be wrong here. Oh, no, I see what they're doing. Sorry. Let me show you right here. So they're doing a Idol of Yasarj and an Idol of Cthulhu. They're getting rid of Yogg-Saron, and they're going 1 into Mind Devourer. So, like, this is the build right here that actually is on Subcreation right now. So it's one of the most popular builds that's going on. But I just don't see why you would ever want to take that second point out of Mind Devourer. I feel like it's way too valuable. So here's what you can do. If you want to do a more channeling style build, then you can do Idol of Cthulhu, okay? And then go like this. put 1 point into Inescapable, go Idol of Cthulhu with Screams of the Void, and Idol of Yogg-Saron, and that's it. You're done. If you want to do a Deathspeaker build, you can go down here to Mind Melt, and then you actually don't have to have Dark Evangelism if you don't want to. You could do something like this instead. This would be the other kind of build. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're actually missing a point. So we could take 1 point out of there and go somewhere else. You could put 1 point into Screams. You could put 1 point into Insidious Ire to get more damage on your Mind Blast. So it's up to you. You could also put 1 point into Void Torrent. Now, this is interesting. I'll show you that I did try to use Void Torrent here. Right, so here's me. This was the first build that I was trying. This was a channeling build with Idol of Cthulhu, and I did take Void Torrent as well. And I didn't really like this build at all. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not bad by any means. But this is the one style build I just didn't really enjoy it. But the most common capstone, big sort of capstone node that everybody takes is Idol of Cthulhu, and I think, for better or for worse, it's a good capsule. Don't get me wrong, it does lots of extra damage, but it has a proc chance. It's not always procking for you. I cast Mind Flay a lot, and it didn't proc for me necessarily. And also, the issue with it, in my opinion, is that you have to stand still and channel. And for so many of these boss fights, standing still and channeling is like literally just a death sentence. Like, you must keep moving. On a boss like Sereneth, the spider boss, you have to keep moving. There's nothing you can do about it. You must keep moving, right? So standing still and channeling can be like a very difficult thing to pull off. And the less time you stand still channeling, the less damage your Idol of Cthulhu is going to, the less chance it has of proccing. So the less damage you're going to be doing. So this is a build that I was kind of trying at the beginning, but it was really a mishmash of a couple of different builds, and I didn't like it ultimately in terms of the damage that it did. It was okay by the end, don't get me wrong, but I felt like it was less flexible, and I also felt like it just didn't necessarily perform the best I wanted it to. On this fight, I'm cheating damage a little bit because I'm doing damage to add, so it's not pure single target. But let me jump to the Dathia fight here. Right, so here's the Dathia fight. This is a different build. I was not running Idol of Cthulhu here. I was not running any of the channeling spells. I wasn't running Void Torrent like in the last one. This was the Deathspeaker build, basically, with Mind Spike. So I'm using Mind Melt. I'm using Deathspeaker to get the proc spec. There's a proc right there on Deathspeaker. I want to make sure you guys see this because, again, some people I think are struggling. So I've cast Shadow Word Death here, and you can see it's counting down 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and boom, at the 10-second mark, I get another proc, and I cast it right away. So there we go. I'm also getting some Inescapable Torment damage from it, which is really good. It's going to proc here again soon, I believe. Now, I just want to make sure you guys can see that, because sometimes people are like, well, Deathspeaker's like really bad because it never ever procs. And it's like, it actually has procced several times for me over the course of a fight, and certainly in Mythic Plus it procs even more. But anyway, the trick with this build is simply that you're pressing Mind Spike to give your Mind Blast a 25% increased chance to crit. One thing I do like about this build a lot is that it has a lot of instant procs. So like my Mind Blast can proc. Look at it, it did right here. You can see it's lit up. And my Mind Spike can proc, and when these things proc, while you're getting pulled in by Dathia, and, you know, this is just one example of one fight, but you're getting sucked in, you can use that instant cast ability to keep doing damage while moving, while being forced to move, essentially, right? So, again, you see another proc on Mind Spike there. Another proc on Mind Spike. I just enjoy this build, actually, and I think, you know, it was sustaining like 40k DPS for a little while here. My damage does fall off eventually, but I think that this thing, in my experience, in my testing, can actually perform fairly well. There's another Deathspeaker proc right there. I'm also raid leading here, so just always keep this in mind, guys. I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried to raid lead before, but trying to raid lead while doing damage, in my experience, is the most difficult role to try and do. To keep your rotation, you know, going while also trying to deal damage can be quite difficult. So just keep that in mind here. But again, I also don't have a tier set. But in terms of just flexibility and replayability, I really enjoy this build. The ability to have all these instant cast spells, where if I'm getting blown back here, you can see I can still cast a Shadow Word Death if it hit proc. I had no procs right now, but the point is you can't channel while you're moving. And on this fight, you have to move. On the Sereneth fight, you have to move. There's so many of these boss fights in the Vault of the Incarnates where, like, movement is required, and it's stopping you from doing damage, and that can be really frustrating. So anyway, the crux of this build is essentially you're casting your Mind Spike to try and give yourself the buff for Mind Blast, so that Mind Blast has a higher chance to crit. You have these Mind Bender windows with Inescapable Torment, and you're proccing them with Shadow Word Death and with Mind Blast, and you're getting a Shadow Word Death reset, of course, to continue to proc that. And then you have Idol of Yogg-Saron to kind of finish it all out, getting that extra damage from Yogg. And I really did enjoy it. I think that it's a good build. I think that it worked quite well. And I think the other build works fine, too. The Channeling build, as I said. But I just don't like it as much. I don't think it has as much flexibility, and I just don't like standing still and channeling. It doesn't feel like it's something that is like doable on so many of these boss fights. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm going to continue exploring more single target builds. These are the best kind of builds that I've found so far. So I will link both of the builds that I've used. One for the channeling build and one for the Mind Spike, Mind Blast, Deathspeaker kind of focus build. I'm going to link both of them in the description down below. I think they both have merit. I think that ultimately the channeling build has a higher ceiling, where if your Idol of Cthulhu is proccing a lot and you're able to maximize your uptime on Shadow Mind Flay Insanity, then like it's going to be fantastic. Like your damage is going to be better than if you're doing the Mind Spike build. But the Mind Spike build, in my opinion, has much, much better flexibility. And if you are getting the procs that you're looking for on Deathspeaker and whatever else, then you are going to be able to do very similar amounts of damage. So I'll link both of these down below. This is what I've been trying to use in the raid, and I'll continue to experiment with more builds for you guys into the future. So just stay tuned for those, okay? Thank you so much again for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.